ladies and gentlemen. So it's Sunday morning. I'm still here in Alabama. I've been going to this really nice church, and because it's February, Valentine's Day and all that, the churches like to kind of address things that are going on in the world, so they can be relevant and everything, and I think that's great. I have made some comments about churches recently that could easily be seen as kind of disparaging. And I don't mean to just be disparaging towards church. I wouldn't go to church if I thought church was a bad idea. I wouldn't go to church if I thought that people shouldn't go to church. So I don't want anybody that hears me say things about church that might be a little critical to just think that I'm a hater and I think churches are stupid and bad and all that, because that's not the case. I think people should go to church, but I also think that there's been a very measurable backslide in terms of the overall quality of the message that Christian Protestant churches provide, and specifically these non-denominational churches. It just so happens that the church I've been going to here in Alabama is a non-denominational Protestant Christian church. The more I go to these places, the less I think they're really very Christian. I mean, I think they could barely be considered Christian at this point. And the bone that I have to pick with these fellas here at this place was that last week the guy got up and told, he's kind of, let me back up here. Part of the sales process is you have to build rapport with your customers. And so when these guys that are the preachers at these churches deliver their message, a component of that message is going to be taking verses out of the Bible that are relevant to the topic, because that adds credibility to what you're trying to tell people. And then a component of that is also going to be like telling your personal story, or telling little stories from other people that are in your life that are relevant to the topic and that kind of thing. And that's all good and fine. That's effective. That's a good way that's actually an integral part of the sales process. So I'm not saying that they shouldn't do that. I'm not expecting people to stop doing that. But what really bothered me last Sunday and this Sunday is these guys chose to make it a humiliation ritual for men, specifically for themselves. Like the old guy last week, who's the pastor, who's been the pastor of this church for, 30 years or something like that, went out of his way to tell some embarrassing stories about himself when he was trying to first start dating his wife and all that. And so he told the story about how his wife's father basically threatened him with a gun or whatever, you're never gonna hurt my daughter or I'll kill you, and that kind of thing. And that's fine too. I'm all for dads threatening people. I'm a dad. I have 2 daughters. So yeah, go ahead. Threaten young guys that are going to try to take your daughters out. That I got no problem with that. Where it gets a little gray and maybe black is where now you're out of all the things you could choose to tell a story about, you choose to tell this story and like humiliate yourself. And like if you're the leader of a church, it's a massive mistake to go up on stage and like humiliate yourself as an example of like what other guys in the church should be doing. And so the guy today, who's a younger guy, who's like the older guy from last week, is passing the torch to the younger guy from this week. The older guy is not going to be the main pastor anymore, and this younger guy is going to be the pastor now, and that's cool too. But this guy does the same thing. He goes up there and tells a humiliation story about himself. And then halfway through the message, he tells another humiliation story about himself. And then at the end, he tells another humiliation story about himself and airs out his wife's dirty laundry. And I'm almost like speechless. Like the amount of simpery that these guys are preaching, they're telling, and it's like a totally gynocentric message. They're telling these women, you deserve this and you deserve that, and all that type of shit. And I would say, for the most part, telling people what they deserve and all this, you deserve this and that special treatment shit, probably ain't really a good idea. You probably don't be telling people that they deserve a simp. You know, I don't think they do. I think women, if you really think that highly of women, then it doesn't make any sense to me for you to tell them that they deserve a simp. I think if you really do believe that women should be treated well and everything like that, then you want them to stay as far away from simps as humanly possible. You don't want them being anywhere near a simp. That would be a massive hit to their overall quality of life, not an improvement. So I don't know. I have a lot of strong opinions about the way that these Christian churches are now telling men to approach relationships with women. And I've yet to actually hear a message any time recently from this kind of style of church that sounds legitimate to me. It all sounds like bullshit. It sounds completely inverted. It sounds upside down and backwards. It sounds like these guys don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And I actually believe them to be like dudes that think they're like helping. Like they think they're trying to help people. It's wild. I think they're hurting people. I think they're doing a huge disservice to the men that are going there and giving them money. And I think they're setting them up to fail. I think they're doing a huge disservice to the women that are going there looking for men. Because it's clear that there's a bunch of divorced, middle-aged women that are there looking for a man. I would love to find one of them. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm out here, ladies. I'm going to church to find you too. It's all good. You know what I mean? I've done way more dirt in the streets than any of you ever could have. So I'm not concerned whatsoever about the like OnlyFans to church pipeline or anything like that. I am hyperly well equipped to take one of these OnlyFans girls that goes to church now because she's like trying to settle down and whatnot. And, I would never wife up any of these women ever. I've already made enough catastrophic mistakes by wifing up women in my life. But I can definitely put some food in your stomach and give you an opportunity to get out of the house and see if you can be fun to be around and entertaining. All that to say, when you go to these churches, they're going to give you the worst possible relationship advice you could get. That doesn't mean that I think these people are bad people. I think they're ill-equipped. I also think they don't have any experience in the actual dating game that they're trying to coach people in. And that becomes a huge problem. So be very careful if they're telling you like little stories that are just like embarrassing them, and it's kind of like they're trying to be comedic. The guy's going up there and telling like embarrassing stories about himself, and that you're not a stand-up comedian, bro. It's not your job to go up there and just tear yourself down, because you're setting a completely fucked up example for all the rest of the men in your congregation. What you want to do is go up there and tell stories that are victorious. Tell stories about your wins. Tell stories about overcoming temptation, about exercising discipline. And what they want to do is tell you, don't fuck people that you're not married to. Okay, that's cool. The reality of that is that I would say there's almost zero people in that building that are going to fall into that category. You may be able to reach some of the young ladies there that haven't already gone out and started having sex with people yet, but the numbers would say different. The numbers would say that, now by the age of 16, these chicks are already having sex with people. And so, you want to be able to go up there and preach forgiveness. Tell them just because you've, had sex with one person you're dating and not married to doesn't mean you have to have sex with every single person that you date and all that kind of thing. And that's fine advice. I got no problem with that. I'm not like picking apart every single, part of the Bible here. Like, the message is, yeah, don't fuck people that you're not married to. Okay, cool. That's legit. I did 2 stretches of 4 years where I didn't fuck anybody I wasn't married to. 2 stretches. I did a 4-year stretch where I wasn't going to fuck anybody that I wasn't married to. And then I changed my mind. And the first chick that I hooked up with lied to me. She lied about leaving her husband, hooked up with me, and then I found out not 48 hours later that she was actually still married and living in the house with her husband and everything. Like, she hadn't even moved out. They hadn't got divorced. Everything she told me was complete bullshit. And I have that. So the problem that I encounter is I have this shit on easy mode. Like, my experience with women is almost the complete opposite of what most men experience with women. Most men experience it's very difficult to get women to have sex with you. In my experience, the worst fucking whores on planet Earth just throw pussy at me all the fucking time. I'm like dodging fucking pussy from fucking bitches. I have to, if I put myself on the market in any way, there's pussy falling into my fucking lap constantly. I had to get into like my 20s and 30s before I even had to like start to practice trying to approach women that I liked and picking and choosing certain ones, because I would just take down massive amounts of chicks because I had no issue whatsoever with having a multitude of sexual opportunities right in front of me throughout by the time I was like 14. There were substitute teachers at high school that were trying to fuck me when I was like a freshman in high school. We would go down to TJ and get drunk. I came up in San Diego. I grew up in San Diego. So we could go across the border to Tijuana and drink and party. And then come back and go to school the next morning. And these substitute teachers would be like inviting themselves along with us. You don't even want to know the dumb shit we used to do. We used to steal cars, go across the border, party, and come back and make it to school the next day on time and all this type of shit. And these fucking substitute teachers, I don't know how they, now looking back, they're probably like between the ages of like 22 to 26, maybe 30. Even some old ones were like 30, 31. And like, there's one very specific one who was super hot and kind of one of the older kind of end of that age range. And she was all about it, man. So anyway, I know what I'm talking about is just my point. These guys that are preaching at this church, it appears that they've just been in one relationship and never had another relationship in their entire life. They've never slept with anybody but their wife. Good, bro. Good for you. You probably have saved an immeasurable amount of time and energy and money by choosing to discipline yourself in the way that God instructed you and doing it that way. So good for you, dude. Good for you. But the way that they're going up on stage and making this dating situation into a humiliation ritual for men is fucking retarded. I probably shouldn't say that word because I'm trying to get these videos not deleted. But yeah, it's completely ridiculous. And so don't let women humiliate you. If they're trying to humiliate you, get rid of them. They're not worth it. It's not going to work out. The days of women humiliating you and then you trying to still be in relationship with them, those days are over, homie. Don't stand for any of that whatsoever. And don't go up on stage. If you're a pastor, I would be willing to bet these guys are never going to see any of these videos. But just in case, for some fucking reason, any of these dudes who are pastors that do this, see any of these videos that I make, do not go up on stage and just embarrass yourself talking about how your wife broke up with you because she didn't want to be a pastor's wife and she went and fucked some baseball players for like a year and then you took her back after that. You've got to be fucking joking me, dude. What are you selling? That's all I got to say, man. Am I going to keep going to that church? Yes. I like that church. I can think that these guys are cucked simps and disagree with their presentation and and have very critical things about their ability to actually sell what they're selling. But I can still think that there's good people at that church. They're friendly. It's a nice church. It's a nice area. Most of Birmingham, Alabama is fucking ghetto and shot out. The people are garbage. They don't like themselves. They don't like each other. They don't like you. But this little area of Birmingham, the people are great. They're friendly. They're nice. They're clean. They're cleaned up. They get all gussied up and go to church. The church is super nice. It's big. It's clean. They're making tons of money. They're doing what they think is right to like help people and put little small groups together so everyone can kind of, it's a big ass church, so it's challenging. There's a lot of challenges with that. And to try to like make little programs within the organization so that people can actually connect with one another and make friends and have actual, you know, friendly relationships with the other people that go there, it's a good thing. So like, I'm gonna go there as long as I'm here in town, probably, because I'm not really like bagging on the church. I just can't fucking believe that these guys are still like simping and going up and preaching this simpery. And I've recently seen like Pearl and Myron and Andrew Wilson and a bunch of these people on the internet be very critical of this Christian Protestant church simpery. And I'm sorry to report that they're 100% right. This simp shit is so out of control. These churches need help, man. They really do. You don't want to be a simp. If your church is telling you to simp, I'm not telling you to just like burn your relationship with that church, but don't listen to that shit. God doesn't want you to simp, okay? You can't be a leader if you're simping and if you're getting cucked by your wife, okay? If your wife bails on you and goes to fucks a bunch of Major League Baseball players for some reason, don't take her back. And then don't go tell people stories about that up on a stage in a church. What the fuck are you doing? All right? Don't do that. That's embarrassing for you to say that shit about your wife, first of all. If you really think so fucking highly of your wife, don't tell people that, homie. Erase your capability of even saying that out loud in a room full of people from your existence. Don't don't say that shit about your wife, okay? First, don't allow that. Second, if she does it anyway, don't take her back. Third, if you fail at number 1 and number 2, number 3 would be, don't fucking tell anybody about this shit. That's the type of shit you fucking keep silent and take to your fucking grave. You don't make that as the example that you're going to go teach other men to tolerate and then like practice. Fuck off, bro. Be careful out there, boys. The simp shit is gone wild. That's all I got. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, keep it fucking pushing.